D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick 1025, 1063 The Game, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Adam Vingan and Derek Mason here with you. Willie Donick will join us shortly once he handles his Predators pregame responsibilities. We are live at Bridgestone Arena, where the Predators will host the Edmonton Oilers tonight at 7 o'clock. Of course, all coverage here on 1025, 1063 The Game. A big opportunity for the Predators to get their first win of the season, trying to avoid something they have never done in their franchise history, which is lose their first 4 games of a season in regulation. They will face a tough task tonight against the Edmonton Oilers, who have had the Predators' number in recent years. Off the top of my head, the Predators are 4-10-1 in their past 15 meetings with the Edmonton Oilers. And we will get into more of that matchup later in the program. But Derek, some interesting news out of St. Thomas Sports Park this morning. According to Adam Schefter and Teron Davenport, the Titans are releasing Jamal Adams.
Well, I mean, it's you knew something was going to happen the minute they put him on the non-football injury list. You knew there was a problem. This is a guy that has played what 10 snaps, and not even 10 snaps.
According to Teron, in his article on ESPN.com, Jamal Adams played a total of 20 snaps in 3 games, including 2 in his Titans debut against the Jets in Week 2. He played a season-high 17 snaps the following week against the Packers, but his frustration level peaked after playing just 1 snap against the Dolphins in Week 4. So 20 total snaps for Jamal Adams this season.
And listen, obviously something happened between the time that he got here till now, that he wasn't pleased about it. I'm sure it was the playing time. I'm sure, he was told that he would get some playing time, that he would be in the rotation, not necessarily a starter, but he would be in the rotation. And he didn't find himself in the rotation for whatever reason. For what reason, I have no idea. Was it because of injury? He wasn't playing, early on, or he didn't practice, during 2 days much, but they understood that when they brought him in. They knew what his practice regimen or his practice habits would be, just like they knew what D-Hop practice regimen and his practice habits would be. Again, there must have been some miscommunication between he and the Titans brass, or he and the head coach, or he and the defensive coordinator, where it didn't work. Listen, I've been a part of situations like that where you come in and they, things that they are telling you prior to you signing with them, and then when you get there, they're still telling you these things, and then as practice and as games go, it's totally opposite of what was told, and as a player, you get frustrated. And I'm sure that's what he became frustrated, that he wasn't playing. So this is just another problem, or another one of these cracks within this Titans team that we talked about earlier in the week. When you have a guy that you brought in, to be a part of your defense, and then after 5 games, well, really after 4, he's no longer a part of your team, and you give no reasons why he's not a part of your team, why he was deactivated, why he was put on the non-football injury list. There are some things going on in that building that aren't all rosy, and obviously it started with the play. But when stuff like this happens, that's not a sign of things going well within the building.
Teron Davenport writes at ESPN.com, quote, Adams told ESPN on Thursday that he wasn't frustrated about not being a starter. He just wanted an opportunity to contribute, so he requested his release. The primary issue from the Titans' point of view was a lack of practice. According to a team source, Adams missed extensive time during training camp as he fought through a hip injury. The Titans placed Adams on the non-football injury list this past Saturday, The veteran defensive back said he's healthy and ready to help out the next team he
That's
joins.
a lie. It's a lie because y'all knew what his practice habits were before he came here. Y'all knew he didn't practice the first day he got here. He didn't practice in camp, and it wasn't a big deal. It was, he'll be okay, he'll be ready for the season, and this and that. But now all of a sudden it's a problem now when it wasn't a problem then. Again, you have guys every week that you don't practice, that you allow to not practice every week, the same guys. You had guys in training camp that didn't practice. Sneed didn't practice. Cheeto didn't practice. Guys D-Hop, before he got injured, he wasn't practicing every day because why? He was a veteran. You wanted to, take care of him, make sure he was well rested, when the season started. But now all of a sudden it's a problem. That's an excuse. That is a big excuse because you knew exactly what type of player he was when you brought him in here. You knew that he wasn't going to practice as much, and you were okay with it then. Or you act as if you were okay with it. It seemed like everybody was on board, but now it becomes a problem. That's horse crap. It really is. That's the part that I get pissed off about, that I get upset about, when organizations do stuff like that. When damn well they knew he wasn't going to practice. They knew it when they brought him in.
So it's damage control.
Exactly. Just be honest, like, hey, listen, he ain't fit the scheme that we were running. We didn't feel he was the same player, so he wants to go somewhere else where he can get some playing time. We're going to allow that to happen. Don't lie and say it was his practice. He didn't practice as much. You got a bunch of guys on that team that don't practice as much. Maybe that's a damn problem.
Well, the Jamal Adams era ended as quickly as it started. According to ESPN, Jamal Adams has been released from the Tennessee Titans after playing a grand total of 20 defensive snaps for the team after joining them in the offseason. Yesterday as well, Derek, we heard from Will Levis for the first time this week. The first question he was asked at his news conference was about his level of confidence. And here is what Will Levis said when asked about maintaining the edge that got him to where he is right now.
Earlier about the highs and lows adversity quarterbacks face all throughout a season, and you've been very open with us about where your mind's been at in certain weeks after certain games. Where's your confidence level at right now at this point in the season and following that tough loss Sunday?
High. I feel like it's always been that. I think after the game I made the comment. I found myself in a tough spot after the Miami game, just dealing with the injury and all that. And I was disappointed how I let myself dip for that brief period of time. But I feel like I'm back, and I'm not going to let myself lose that again. I think the second you lose that edge, it's hard to come back from. And you got to just maintain that to go out there and have the confidence and mindset to just do what you're capable of. So that's what I'm making sure that I remind myself every day, regardless of what my box score or stat line looks like, that I know who I am at the end of the day. Numbers or whatever else, whoever anyone says has to say, doesn't define me.
That was Will Levis yesterday when asked about where his confidence is. And I'm no psychologist, but sometimes on the radio you play amateur psychologist. I hear what Will Levis is saying, and I didn't expect him to say anything other than what he said. But you hear how he said it. You look at his body language as he said it. He claims he is as confident as ever, although there was a dip in it, he admitted. But he did not come across as a confident quarterback, despite saying the opposite.
Maybe I look at this totally wrong, and maybe that can be the case. But when you are a true competitor, and at least this is the way I am wired, you never lose confidence. No matter what's going on, you never lose confidence in who you are as a player. Things may not be going well, but you never lose confidence in who you are as a player. They may not be giving you the opportunity, but you never lose confidence of who you are as a player. You may not reach the potential that you want to reach, but you never lose confidence as a player. You can't lose confidence and say, well, in a week or a couple of days, well, I got it back. Did you? Okay. And then you You lost your confidence. You got it back. But then in another clip that we will play, you had a bad practice. The energy was low. Come on now. Make it make sense. You're up there. Will's problem right now is that whether he's saying that he's regained that confidence or not, I don't think he has. I don't think he's regained whatever confidence he had at the beginning of the season, because now everything that he does, he will be scrutinized over. So which tells me he's going into sort of self-preservation mode. He's going to start pressing. He's going to start trying to do things to make big plays. And that's the Will Levis they don't need. The Will Levis that feels he has to play. You know why that pass was intercepted in the last game toward the end? Because he was pressing. He wanted to make a big play. You saw it, his body language. He stared the receiver down for about 2 or 3 seconds. Everybody in the building knew where he was throwing the ball, but he was pressing. He even said, "Oh, if my arm was better, I could have got it in there." No, you couldn't have, because you stared the receiver down. The defensive back, the safety knew exactly where you were going. I don't know what they need to do with Will Levis, but they need to do it quick, because if not, that locker room is gone. It really is. So Will Levis, you better find some confidence somewhere. If you've lost it and trying to regain it, you better find it, and you better find it quick. Because if you don't, you might as well just hand over the football to Mason Rudolph.
Well, let's listen to that clip that you referenced, Derek. This was Will Levis discussing yesterday's practice.
Well, we talked to Callahan about the urgency. He said, it's always there, but there might be a different tone to it given the record and these next 2 tough road opponents. What's your take on the urgency going into a week like this?
Yeah, I think operationally, just in and out of the huddle too. That's something we saw on this past Sunday that wasn't up to our standard. And with all the stuff that we do, with all of the motions and everything, and different types of looks we're going to give to the defense, like we need to, get up and set on the line of scrimmage with more than 15 seconds to go. We can't be breaking the huddle, approaching the line with 6-7 seconds without even having to, or being able to operate what we want to for the play. So it's working through this week of getting the substitutions game-like, making sure that we're getting in and out of the huddle with urgency. And I think that mindset in the huddle, in and out of the huddle, should take its course throughout everything else that we're doing in the building and how we approach it. So we didn't have the best day of practice today. We all knew that. We want to come out tomorrow and make sure that urgency and what we put out there on tape is more to our standards. So opportunity to do that tomorrow.
So reporters don't have the opportunity to watch practice during the regular season as they do during training camp.
Yeah.
So nobody can really explain why it was a bad practice. Although I do think we have a clip. If we don't have it now, we'll get to it later, of Peter Skoronski explaining what that quote unquote bad practice looked like. But considering everything that's gone wrong for this team and considering their next opponent, the Buffalo Bills, and we talked about this yesterday, specifically about the defense, but we can talk about it as a whole. This is their toughest test of the season to date.
Yeah.
This is a legitimate Super Bowl contender. They are going on the road to face a legitimate Super Bowl contender. And Will Levis just sort of nonchalantly at the end there, wasn't our best day of practice. I was advised by a certain someone who also hosts a show on this station to play that clip for you and then just let you go. So that's what I'm going to do. Derek, the floor is yours.
Hey, Dave,
what's up?
Hey, can you play that clip for me one more time? Just
Of
play
course.
that clip for me. Thank you. Because there was some, I want to be.
Callahan about the urgency. He said, it's always there, but there might be a different tone to it given the record and these next 2 tough road opponents. What's your take on the urgency going into a week like this?
Yeah, I think operationally, just in and out of the huddle too. That's something we saw on this past Sunday that wasn't up to our standard. And with all the stuff that we do, with all of the motions and everything, and different types of looks we're going to give to the defense, like we need to, get up and set on the line of scrimmage with more than 15 seconds to go. We can't be breaking the huddle, approaching the line with 6-7 seconds without even having to or being able to operate what we want to for the play. So it's working through this week of getting the substitutions game-like, making sure that we're getting in and out of the huddle with urgency. And I think that mindset in the huddle, in and out of the huddle, should take its course throughout everything else that we're doing in the building and how we approach it. So we didn't have the best day of practice today. We all knew that. We want to come out tomorrow and
stop it right there, David.
And what we put out.
Thank you, David. I appreciate that. Okay. Once again, like my mama said, my grandmama said, if you ain't got nothing good to say, don't say nothing at all, Will Levis. They weren't talking to Will Levis, but I'm talking to Will Levis now. If you ain't got nothing good to say, don't say nothing at all, Will. They did not ask you a question about practice. They did not prompt you with a question about practice. I think that may have been Kayla that asked that question, and I can't recall her saying, well, how did practice go, Will? She didn't say that. She didn't mention practice at all. But he took it upon himself to say, yeah, we didn't have a good day of practice today. It's like, man, shut the hell up. Stop running your mouth. That's the side. He's not your leader because he doesn't know what to say and when to say it. If you don't know what to say and when to say it, shut your mouth. You can tell by the way he was talking. It was like he was almost looking for things to say toward the end. And you said the wrong thing. Now, Peter Scarant, they're going to ask Peter, hey, Will said practice didn't go well.
And we'll play that clip.
And we'll play that clip. Or they got to ask somebody else. Now the other teammates are like, man, I didn't want to ask. Who said practice didn't go well? Who said it? Oh, Will said practice didn't go. Oh, okay. I guess it's the sense of urgency. You are causing problems, Will, that don't need to be caused. Shut your mouth if you ain't got nothing good to say. You are supposed to be the leader of this team. You got to know what to say, when to say it, and how to say it. I understand you don't want to lie to anybody, but no one asked you a question to prompt that answer. No one did. I don't think what was asked of you prompted you to say we didn't have a good practice because you said that at the end after you start fumbling with your words, thinking about what to say, and that just came out. You can't do that. Now you leave it up to everybody else to answer questions based upon your answer. That was really the big crux of it. But also, you threw the head coach under the bus once again. You threw him under the bus once again. And again, they didn't ask you to throw him under the bus. We got to get the plays in faster. We got to get it in and out of the huddle faster. What that means is, Callahan, get the plays in quicker. Get the plays in quicker so we can get up to the huddle quicker. That's what that means. And that may be going on. But again, you don't throw your coach under the bus. Have your coach thrown you under the bus? Hell no. He has every right to throw you under the bus, but he hasn't. That's the second time in 3 days you done threw your head coach under the bus. First, it was the shoulder. Your head coach didn't know anything about that as far as you were hurting. To his knowledge, you were okay. You were good to go. And then you come back a day later or 2 days later, and you say, well, yeah, we need to get in and out of the huddle. We need to get the plays. Will, that's something that you and the head coach need to be talking about. That's not anything that the reporters need to be hearing. Just say, hey, listen, we need to get out. We, as an offense, we need to speed things up. That's all. We need to speed things up as an offense. I need to get the guys in and out of huddle. I, the quarterback, the leader, I need to get. If you got to be demonstrative with these guys, then that's what you need to do. Stop trying to placate. Stop trying to be friends with everybody. Stop trying to appease everybody. If you are going to be the leader, sometimes you got to do hard things.
615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Coming up next, we'll hear Peter Skoronsky's answer as to why the Titans had a supposedly bad practice, and we'll continue to take your thoughts on the Titans at 615-737-1025. Join 1025 and 1063 The Game and Big Joe Dubin from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. this Saturday at Hope Fest 2024, a family-friendly festival celebrating hope found in the faith and recovery community. The event will be held at the Bethel Church of the Nazarene at 455 Broadmoor Drive in Nashville from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. with free food, games for the kids, mental health and recovery resources available. The Tennessee Titans Alumni Association will be on hand with their vaccination clinic. More details at thegamenashville.com/events.
This is Derek Mason, and you need to mark your calendars for November 9th of this year. Okay, and get ready to feel the thrill at the Iron Goddess Motorcycle Show, which is sponsored by Law Tigers. Whether you're a seasoned rider or just love the adrenaline, we've got it all. Vintage beauties, latest models, and heart racing performances await you. Join us for a day filled with action, power pack showcases, and the spirit of adventure. Don't miss out. Fuel your passion and meet your fellow enthusiasts. Ride on over. The doors will be open. It's the Iron Goddess all-female show, which is coming to Nashville again, November 9th. Mark your calendars. Go to their website to get tickets. The website is Iron Goddess Motorcycle Show.com. That's Iron Goddess Motorcycle Show.com. We look forward to you being there. So get your tickets now. It's sponsored again by Law Tigers.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you want to go out and have the best practice possible and prepare like it's a game environment. And could have been better today. I think there was just some slips in energy and some slips in execution. And game day, what we do on game day starts on Wednesday in terms of our execution. And we gotta have a good day on these days in the week, because that's how we build our confidence for Sunday, and that's how we get mentally ready for Sunday too. So, gotta be better tomorrow. We have an opportunity tomorrow, so gotta get after it.
That was Peter Skoronsky when asked about Will Levis's comments about the Titans having a bad day of practice yesterday. By the way, the current line on the game on Sunday, Bills minus 9.5.
Did it go up?
Last I checked, it was 9. Maybe those comments added that 0.5. But the Bills are 9.5-point favorites, which in the NFL,
That's a blowout.
that's a blowout. And if the Titans play as they apparently practiced yesterday, it's not going to be pretty in New York on Sunday when the Titans face the Bills. So that was Peter Skoronsky's response when asked about Will Levis's comments. And Derek, you would know this way more than I would. It just feels like at this point of the season, regardless of the quarterback, at this point of the season, you're 1-4. Your season is on life support.
Yeah.
If you lose this game, a lot of players in that locker room may be on their way out. Well, we've talked a lot about DeAndre Hopkins and the potential trades involving DeAndre Hopkins. We'll get to that in a little bit as well. But this is it. I mean, you could argue it's already been it. They're 1-4, but this is definitely it. If you're 1-5 and then you go to Detroit and you become 1-6, it's not going to get pretty around here. It's already pretty ugly. But to hear a 1-4 team preparing for its toughest test of the season, their quarterback claiming they didn't have a good day of practice. I mean, it feels like it goes beyond the quarterback in this situation.
Yeah, again, and then you leave this mess for everybody else to answer. Peter Skoronsky, now a second-year guy, now who's dealing with his own issues, and he's trying to get better at a position. Now he has to answer questions that you generated. The person that asked you that question, Will Levis, didn't generate it. You generated it. Now everybody else has to deal with the aftermath of it. Everybody else. And this is what's going to happen, Adam. I bet you I bet you $100 right now. I bet you 100. This is what's going to happen.
All right.
If they lose, that will come back. So y'all lost. So was the week of y'all not being prepared or the energy wasn't there? Was that a factor into y'all losing? Now they got to answer that question. And how are they going to answer it? Well, your quarterback said y'all didn't have a good practice, and you had to reiterate it that, the energy was low. So if y'all lose, it's like everybody's going to come back to what your quarterback said on Wednesday. They're going to come back to that. I guarantee you. So now you just set the table for some disastrous Will Levis, and you didn't even have to. You didn't have, again, if you ain't got nothing, if you don't know what to say, don't say nothing at all.
A self-inflicted wound.
That's all it was. You shot yourself in the foot and didn't even need to. That shows me you can't handle a gun. That shows me and the gun is the interview. You can't handle the interview. So you shoot yourself in the foot. Now, Peter Skoronsky got to answer a question about that. And I'm sure there are other guys in that locker room that's going to have to answer a question pertaining to what Will Levis brought up. Because, again, it wasn't something that the interviewer was asking to him. They didn't ask that. I think it was Caleb, but it might not have been. But the female reporter did not ask you, how did practice go today? At least I didn't hear it.
I didn't hear it either.
But you told her, and it didn't go well. Now they got something to chew on. And that's something. What did you say yesterday, Adam? You said a journalist, once they get their story together and then the leftover stuff, they kind of dump it in there.
It's called
at the bottom.
emptying the notebook.
Yeah.
Emptying the notebook.
So they got that one in their back pocket.
Yes.
And they're going to empty that if y'all lose. They're going to empty it right there on the page. And it's going to be your quote. Why, Will Levis? Why? And I'm sure your head coach is asking you that too. Like, damn, why did he do that?
Wes is on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Wes, thank you for waiting. Please go ahead.
All right, guys, I'm going to ask y'all a question. I asked this question to Jared a couple days ago, but he didn't have a whole lot of time to elaborate on it because I called too late. So, look, I was one of the people that got booed off of social media whenever I said this summer that I felt like Rand needed to go with Mike Vrabel. They needed to start over, but no one wanted to do that. So now we're here. So my question is this. Do you think that when Callahan got hired in, that he said, yeah, I like Will. I like what he brings to the table. I like what I've seen. I like what he's shown. I can work with that. But if for some reason I throw in my white flag sometime this season and say, hey, guys, hey, look, there's nothing I can do. This kid's not coachable, but I want to go out and work with Chad and work with Ren, and the three of us go find my guy and start over with my guy. Is there a possibility that happens? Because I just don't see the upper management in this organization. I just don't see them fixing this, and I think we need to start over.
Thank you, Adam, for your call.
That was Wes.
Wes, I'm sorry.
Adam
Wes.
calls,
Yeah,
so Adam does call a
yeah,
lot. So
Wes.
I do understand.
Yes, Wes,
we
I
love
am
all of our
sorry.
devoted
Yes.
listeners, but that was Wes.
Wes, I am so sorry. Forgive me for that. Again, I am not advocating, or will I advocate this year for the firing or the dismissal, or however you want to phrase it, of Rand Carthon. I'm not doing that. He's been on the job 2 years. I mean, let the process sort of work itself out, and you will know, or the owner will know, when it's time to, move away from the GM or not. I think, when you brought him in, it's part of the interview process. If you want to be the CEO of a company, or you want to be, the head coach, or even a GM, you come in for the interview. I'm going to show you what my company looks like now, or I'm going to show you what my team looks like now. And I'm going to show you a division within my company that it looks like it has a promise. The last guy couldn't get it out of them. What do you see? How would you fix this? Same with the quarterback. Hey, listen, last guy, I don't think he really could have gotten a lot out of the quarterback because he was more of a defensive-minded guy. There's nothing wrong with that. But in this day and age, if we feel we have our quarterback, we need somebody that's sort of this quarterback whisperer. Somebody that's worked with some really good quarterbacks. And he has. Brian Callahan has. So, Brian, what do you see? Okay, I see. Put on the tape. All right, I see a quarterback with a strong arm. Oh, he got some tools. All right. I can work with that. All right. I'm glad you can work with this, because this is our guy. This is the owner's guy. This is the person who owns all this big Fortune 500 company. This is her guy, or his guy. So make it work. Figure out how to make it work, because she wants him to be the guy. All right, I think I can work with it. But like you said, but if I can't work with it, do I have the ability to say, hey, listen, I think we need to go in another direction? Now, I don't know what that answer, if indeed that was sort of the whole conversation, probably not like that. But I don't know what Rand's response would have been, other than, because I believe this is Amy thinks he can be the guy for this franchise. And I'm only going by what she said in the offseason. He's thinking like, okay, let me run that by the owner. Let me run it by the owner, because this is his guy. I drafted him too. I like him. I think he has promise. But if you can't work this out, okay, let me go to the owner. Owner, that's his guy. That's her guy. You better make it work this season. Give him the whole season. There's no give him 8 games and we're removing him. No, give him the season. But we don't want to call this a rebuild. Because if we call it a rebuild, then we ain't gonna be able to get some of those free agents that we want. We can't build this team if we tell veteran guys that are looking to win and win Super Bowls, we're in a rebuild. Because you can't tell me how long the rebuild is gonna last. So you can't say we're in a rebuild. All right. I don't know if Brian Callahan's hands are completely tied. I do believe that Amy has the last say in Will Levis. She has the last say when it comes to the GM. And then it's like She has to make the call. Then it goes to the GM. Then it goes to the head coach. The head coach and the GM can't make the call alone because they've already said, we go to Miss Amy. If we all ain't on the same page, we go to Miss Amy. She's the final authority. They've said this. This is what came out of their mouth.
Collaboration.
Exactly. So again, who is truly making the call on Will Levis? I believe it's the owner. So everybody's hands are tied here.
Chuck on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, has an interesting question. He wonders if, well, this is how Chuck, I'm going to try to clean up Chuck's text here. He goes, for the coach they drafted Will Levis for, Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, Mike Vrabel.
He fits perfect. Run game, minimal passing. He's not the quarterback for the current head coach. What do you think about that?
Yes, I do. I believe it. I believe part of what he's saying, the last part. He's not for this head coach. He's not. He's shown it. Unless he can make a drastic 180, he hasn't proven this season that he has earned the right to be the quarterback of the future. He hasn't. Now that again, he's not the quarterback's guy. He's not the coach's guy, but the GM drafted him. So they got to try to find out. They got to try to make this work. That's why at the beginning I was like, yeah, go to Mason Rudolph to try not to lose a locker room. But I'm starting to believe more and more that, you know what? Nah, don't do that. Don't do that, because give Will Levis enough rope to basically, do himself in. Give him all the rope he needs to do himself in. So then you can go in the offseason and don't try to fool your fan base. Don't try to fool your fan base. Please don't. Because Will Levis has proven he's not the guy. I want him to make a change. I want him to do a 180. But right now, from what I've seen this year, from some of the things he did last year, he's not the guy. Let it ride out. Because if you remove him, put Mason Rudolph in there, your excuse would be, well, we really didn't give him a shot, so we're going to go back with them and really another year in his offense, we really going to give him an opportunity. No, let him play it out. So you have no excuse when the end of the season comes and your fans are screaming for a quarterback. You can't try to trick them once again. You can't give him that 4-game sample or 5-game sample, however many games he played last year. You can't fool him again. You can't give them the Atlanta game over and over and over again in their mind. You can't fool them no more. You fooled them last year. You fooled me. You had everybody. Hell, he fooled y'all. So I ain't going to put it all on management. He fooled y'all into thinking he was the guy, so y'all didn't go get a quarterback that can push him. So let him play it out, fans. Hey, fans, just allow Will Levis to stay in as quarterback. Don't even bitch him on about it anymore. Just let him go. Let him play the games he's going to play. He's going to mess up, and he will throw some touchdowns. I guarantee you that. He will throw some touchdowns. Let him prove to y'all that he's earned the right to continue to be your quarterback for next season. I don't see it. I really don't. I don't think it's going to get any better. But at least let him play the season out. So when I do, or anybody else on this station do talk about Will Levis, we are talking about him based upon facts, what we're seeing throughout the whole season. Because if you take him out now, fans are still going to scream, or the organization is still going to scream, well, he doesn't have enough games. He didn't get enough games. The offensive line, he was hurt last year. His shoulder. No, let him play it out. Let him have it.
615-737-1025. We'll continue to take your thoughts on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Tune into 1025, 1063 The Game this Saturday for Vanderbilt football. The Commodores will take on Ball State with pregame beginning at 4:30 p.m. on 94.9 The Fan. Moving to 1025 The Game following the Preds game. Vanderbilt football kicks off at 6 o'clock. Coverage is also available on the 1025 The Game app and at thegamenashville.com.
Hey, this is Derek Mason, and you heard me tell you about Dr. Lodge and his staff at Cool Springs MD for some time now. If you have set out to lose weight, chances are it's not your first time setting a resolution to shed some extra pounds only to face disappointment. At Cool Springs MD, Dr. Lodge and his team understands the frustration of this cycle, and this is why they offer a different approach to weight loss. Their comprehensive weight loss program is led by Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and addresses the root cause of weight gain with tailored nutrition, exercise, blood test supplements, and more. They will customize a program specific to you. So connect with Dr. Lodge at CoolSpringsMD.com today to schedule your appointment. As a matter of fact, I got an appointment today because I had to reschedule mine that I had last week. So I am going today after work. So make that appointment for a personalized weight loss plan just for you. That's Cool Springs MD, where your weight loss journey becomes a success story.
Join Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Derek Mason at Twin Peaks in Cool Springs this Sunday for the pregame show from 9:30 to 11:30. They will break down the Titans' Week 7 matchup against the Buffalo Bills and give you the latest updates before the game. The pregame show is presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment, Sundeck Nashville, Sloan's Motorcycle ATV, and award-winning Blue Note Juke Joint and Blue Note Crossroads Bourbon. Adam Binion, Derek Mason here at Bridgestone Arena. Silly underdog picks coming up next. So be sure to listen in. We will need a people's representative. We've got a great prize if you correctly pick an underdog to win this weekend. And we'll start that contest in the next segment. By the way, very proud of myself. I finally got on the board. Thank you, Vanderbilt. I knew you could do it. Always believed in Clark Lee and Diego Pavia. But we do have a couple of people on our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com who want to comment on Will Levis and more. Jimmy, thank you for waiting patiently.
Hey.
Please go ahead.
Hey guys, how y'all doing today?
Good,
Doing
you?
well.
All right, D-Mates, I got two questions. My first one's a stupid question. I was a trainer at the University of Memphis.
Mhm.
My question is college practice harder than pro practice? And then secondly, I'm going to get into this. Cal's got a problem, a big problem. He's fixing to lose his fan base, and he's having problems. These guys are not playing team ball. I just don't see it, D-Mace. It's they look like they're out there just individually, just doing their own little thing. If he don't hurry up, he's going to wind up losing his fan base. And we're trying to build that big stadium down there, guys. So, D, I just wanted to tell you I love you. Peace out, and y'all have a good day, guys.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate that. And Jimmy, there's no stupid questions. Believe me, there's not.
Just stupid answers.
Yeah, just stupid answers
So,
from people like me.
Be on your A game.
Our college practice is harder than the NFL. I mean, I think it depends. I think practice is practice. Sometimes some practices are harder than others. I think every coach, sets out to try to accomplish some things in practice, not necessarily to make practice harder, but to make sure that they are crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's. I can't answer like, is it harder in the NFL to practice than in college? There's a bunch of nuances to that answer, but both are hard. It just depends on the day and the coach's attitude, because hard practices are when you're going through practice and you're drudging through practice and the coach said, nope, start it over. Things don't look good. Then you got to start the whole practice over. That's when it becomes hard. Not hard, from a mental standpoint, but hard from a physical standpoint, because now we got to do this all over again. But I don't think they do that anymore, because you only have an allotment of time to practice out there. Now, in regards to this team and Coach Callahan potentially losing the locker room or losing the fan base, listen, you could be absolutely right on that. I am a fan of the Tennessee Titans, but I am more than a fan. And they're never going to lose a guy like me, because I understand, things and how they operate. And I understand that this league is ebb and flows. Now, I may not like what's going on, and I may want changes within what's going on, but I never lose faith that the team eventually will get it right, whether it be during the season, whether it be next year or whatnot. I'm not going to lose faith in the team finally getting it right, because they have gotten it right several times in his organizations, and they have not gotten it right several times in his organization. So, but as far as just the fan base period outside of me, yeah, you are absolutely right. You are in the process of losing your fan base. And it's because of what's going on the field. And it seems like nothing is flowing. There's no continuity between, the offense and the defense, the quarterback and the receivers, the offensive line and the quarterback and the coach. who's really running things. I think it's Rand, but other people believe it's Brinkert, and other people believe it's somebody else. I think it's the GM. He's the GM of this ball club. He's running things. He has the say, and ultimately Amy has the last say. But you're right. If they don't get things in order, they will lose their fan base. And they have, and I wouldn't blame the fan base, because to me, you sold them on, one, Will Levis is the guy. Two, this isn't, as Willie have said before, they should have just said it was a rebuild, but they didn't want to go down that route. And I get it. I understand why you don't want to go down that route. But you've told all your fan base all of these things, and you gave promise to them at the beginning, like every NFL team does. But now those sort of promises that you put in there, none of it's coming true. You're not holding up your end of the bargain. So I can't sit here and say, if fans choose to not roll with you, I can't sit here and say I don't blame them.
We have another text to that effect. When does Amy say enough is enough? She has zero patience, and coming back to an empty stadium at 1-6 isn't going to inspire much confidence.
You're right, but I don't believe, and listen, I could be wrong, because she has sort of like said one thing and then done another months later. I don't think anyone will be fired during the season. I don't think anyone will be fired in the offseason. I think she's going to run it back again with the same crew. And I mean, when I say crew, I mean the GM, president, everybody else, everybody that kind of falls along the lines of that as far as upper management. I don't think she's going to change anything. She damn sure ain't going to change that head coach, because, again, if you make any changes this offseason, you're going to lose your fan base, because they're going to think like you're erratic. You don't know what you're doing. You had a chance to, if you go fire Rand Carthon, I do agree with Jared with this, but I don't agree with Rand Carthon being fired. But say if you're going to fire Rand Carthon, you should have did it when you fired Mike Vrabel, so you could start all over again. I'm not going to prescribe to that. I'm not. But if that's what you're going to do, you should have did it last year. Because now what people think is, man, they don't have things in order, because now you fired the coach, you hired the GM, then you fired the head coach. Okay? And then if you do this, you fire the GM, and then you're going to bring another GM to work with a coach that he didn't hire. How long do you think that's going to last? You're going to be in this perpetual cycle over and over and over again. That's why I said just let it play out. Let it play out this year. Let it play out next year. Draft your quarterback in the offseason, or get you a guy that can come in here and right the ship. Because if you don't, then yeah, if nothing changes next year, then hey, listen, if you want to make changes, I will not say anything. And I don't think the fan base would say anything.
It's complicated.
Very.
It's very complicated, and it'll be interesting to see what happens as the season progresses. But what we have seen on the field so far this season has inspired very little confidence in this front office, this collaboration, this conglomeration, whatever you want to call it. But we're reaching an inflection point with the Tennessee Titans, to say the least, and it really does feel like the next few weeks, especially considering what could happen at the trade deadline, and we'll get into that later. It just feels like Amy Adams Strunk, Rand Carthon, Chad Brinker, the decision makers for the Tennessee Titans, they've got their work cut out for them, to say the least. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick has joined us. The commissioner is here, which means it's time for Silly Underdog Picks. We will get to that next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025-1063, The Game.
your commissioner speaking.
Adam, you have the 4th pick today.
There's no need to fear. Underdog is here.
D. Mays, Fingen, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingen. It is time for Silly Underdog Picks, presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. Now that Willie has joined us, it is my honor to hand over mic 1 to the commissioner.
Willie, oh Willie G, Willie G. Ooh, oh, Willie, oh Willie G.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your commissioner speaking. Welcome to Barrel House at Bridgestone Arena for another edition of Silly Underdog Picks, presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. Back for a 30th year, which is
the Pearl anniversary
of our competition, which dates back to 1994. And we have had 7 scintillating weeks of competition. And now, I am proud to say, all of our participants are in the win column. And we will get to that in just a moment. So let's welcome to the microphone, first and foremost, the one and only Chris Sanders, forever Titan, the Ohio State Buckeye, and now assistant at Montgomery Bell Academy. Let's find out where he is on the campus. Chris, where are you?
Hey, man, I'm on break, man. First of all, Adam! Congratulations. Congratulations.
Hey, Chris, say aye if you want to get aye.
You made the I team. Yeah, man, I'm sitting there at home, man, just sitting there watching Judge Judy. I'm on break, so I'm good.
So, okay, is it just one episode of Judge Judy, or is it a binge watch, like all day?
You can't just watch one.
No, my binge watch now is The Golden Bachelorette. It's actually pretty good.
Oh, hell no. Oh, hell, don't say that. Seriously, Chris? Seriously, Chris?
Ask Faith when you see it. I love it. It is so stinking corny that I'm taping the episode. I kid you not.
Taping the episode.
I promise you.
Oh,
you.
Lord. Oh, Lord. The golden. Okay. You know what? Hey, listen. If you, I can't yuck. You know what you like, man. I can't yuck your yum, so there you go.
Chris, are you recording that on your VCR?
Okay. No, I'm on my beta.
Oh, man.
You heard Nick Frazier. He is filling in for Chase McCabe, the suit. So once again, the suit, way too important for this competition. I'm starting to worry about his commitment level, but he is delegated to Nick Frazier.
Well, he got off to such a hot start, and the wheels have kind of fallen off a bit for Chase. So Maybe he took his ball and went home.
But I have to say, we have some parity here. Nick, do you feel good about it? And have you been promoted, or have you had any issues with Jay since last week's pick?
No issues at all. Obviously, probably not getting that pay raise because that last pick last week did not happen. I honestly thought that Eastern Michigan was going to pull it off. They were up by 7 at one point, and then the wheels fell off. They ended up losing by I think 21.
We'll get to that.
I was
get to that.
What happened? So Blaine Gabbert, I guess, called his little brother and said, "Hey, you need to do this because we don't want Nick Frazier winning underdogs." Like, okay, thanks, appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, they did not go through for you very well. So let's get to week 8 because we now have a very good competition. All 4 horses are in the race. So let's get to it. Derek Mason. Well, the first pick last week was Adam Vingan, who came in 0-6 in his rookie season, despite a lot of close calls, a lot of covers. But if you're new to our competition, there are no points for a cover. You must have an underdog that wins outright. So he selected Vanderbilt. Coming off of the win against Alabama, they were still a 13.5-point dog at Kentucky last week. And for a second straight game in the SEC, not only did they win, they never trailed. And they won 20-13. They had the ball for 30 of the last 45 minutes. They hit 2 huge field goals in the second half after scoring on one of the last plays of the first half. And they were able to hold off the Wildcats and get their second straight conference win. Adam, how does it feel to have an underdog win?
I feel like Paul Correa back in the 2003 Stanley Cup final. He gets knocked out by Scott Stevens with a nasty open ice hit, leaves the game, comes back and scores. And as Gary Thorne, the ESPN broadcaster, shouted into the microphone, "Off the floor, on the board." That's how I feel at this particular moment. I never wavered. I came in last week knowing I had the first pick, and I knew I was taking Vanderbilt. I knew that Clark Lee would have them prepared and motivated. So although it's just one win, what was the spread at the time of the competition?
13.5.
13.5 points. I'm right back in it, baby. One win, and that's all it took. So I'm feeling pretty good.
So Vanderbilt has won twice as a 13.5-point dog in this competition. Adam last week, and then Chris Sanders in the first week of the season. Although Chris was going to take him against the Crimson Tide and veered off at the last minute, not to remind him of any painful memories or anything. But D. Mace had the second pick last week. He went local. He went Middle Tennessee, and his namesake, Coach Derek Mason. The Blue Raiders were a 4-point dog at Louisiana Tech, and it didn't go well. It did not go well for Blue Nation. 48-21 was the final. La Tech. Whew.
Man, and you know what? I should have known. I should have known not to pick that game. It was a Thursday game. Like, it was the first, one of the first games of the week. And I was going to be able to know before anybody else. Let me down.
What did I tell you guys earlier in the competition? You cannot trust Derek Masons under any circumstances.
You really can't. Not anymore.
And you should know that better because you are one.
Listen, I am going to stick with my man D. Mace. I may not pick him again, but he still has my support.
I agree. You cannot root against Derek Mason. He is a good man. Unfortunately, though, his Blue Raiders are 0-2 in this competition. Once for Adam, which he just referenced. Now let's get to Chris Sanders. He went big, as he always does, and went another coach that we know very well around these parts, Trent Dilfer, and the UAB Blazers, a 26.5-point dog at Army against the undefeated Black Knights of the Hudson. Chris, it didn't go very well. 44-10. 44-10.
Is that good? I don't know if that's good.
It's not good at all. I mean, I looked at the score and I said, man, this is awful. I mean, it's kind of like picking one of Derek Mason's picks. So I shouldn't have did it.
Okay, I feel you.
The good news for Chris is he's still in the lead because Chase McCabe, who delegated his pick last week to Nick Frazier, Nick just wanted to get him even. He wanted to leave the clubhouse tied in a perfect scenario, and he had an opportunity to do this with Eastern Michigan out of the MAC. 2.5-point dogs. against Miami of Ohio in some action. And the final score, Miami of Ohio wins it 38-14. So a small dog of 2.5, that did not get it done.
Absolutely
Nick.
disgusting. I watched the first half. I was like, okay, it's within striking distance. And then the second half, I'm like, what team's out there? I was like, this looks like a bunch of actual Derek Masons in their 55s, 50s. I'm like, come on. Pretty sure Innsworth would have done better in the second half.
Wow.
I resent
Shots.
That. I resent that, Nick.
You still got it, D-Mace. I know you do.
Then finally, the people. And by the way, we will have a prize for the people again today. They're trying to keep up with this motley crew. John represented an Oklahoma fan. He said, look, you never know what can happen in the Red River Shootout. Oklahoma, Texas, anything can happen. So he took the Sooners, 14.5-point dogs against number 1 Texas, and oof, the Longhorns rolled 34-3, one of the more lopsided Red River Shootouts that I can remember. And so no dice for the Sooners. So at the end of 7 weeks of play, it is Chris Sanders in the lead with 25, Chase in second place, 22.5, and then a tie for third, D-Mace and Adam, 13.5 points each.
Okay. I like that. We're on the board.
The people are 2-5, and they have 8.5 points. So that brings us to week 8, and D-Mace has the first pick.
Go green, go white. Hey, I couldn't say nothing to my music playing. Where's my theme song? You got my theme song? There
Dramatic pause. That came in.
All right. Oh, man. Here we go. I thought about 2 games. That Boston College and Virginia Tech game looks really good. Oh, man. I haven't seen much of Virginia Tech other than the first game of the season, Boston College either. So you know what I am doing? I am going Nebraska over Indiana.
Why? Why would you do that?
I don't think Indiana has played a schedule worthy of them. You know, they're 6-0, but I don't know if that's a true 6-0 or not. Their schedule has been soft. Whereas Nebraska at least has played Colorado, and Colorado's a pretty good team, and they beat Colorado first game of the season. They did end up losing, I think, to Illinois, a close game, if I'm not mistaken. I love the quarterback. I love what Rule has them doing. So I'm picking Nebraska to upset Indiana.
Yes, the only loss for Nebraska is against Illinois in overtime, 31-24. So D-Mace takes the Cornhuskers, a 6.5-point dog at Indiana, who is undefeated on the season. Very intriguing game. And each time Indiana gets W's, they're staying in this hunt here. They used to be. I mean, most years they're not really in the discussion, but they keep winning.
What did they coach say when asked about wins? He said, "Just Google me. Google me. That's all. Google me. I'm a winner. Google me."
I like that. All right, that brings us to Chris Sanders, who it doesn't seem to matter if he's got the first pick or the fourth pick. He's going long. Let's see what he's got up his sleeve today.
I know what he's picking. I got to feel it.
You already know. Okay.
Nobody's looking for you, Chris, especially not watching the Golden Bachelorette or Bachelor, whatever it is. Well, I know where you are in front of that television watching that show.
On his VCR.
Exactly.
Does the Golden Bachelorette, does she call for some Lionel Richie
I
when
don't
the mood
know.
is right? When the mood's right?
Are we sure that
Possibly.
Lionel Richie is not on the Golden Bachelorette?
He might be in the genre.
He's in the age
The
range.
demographic
He's
could
in the
be.
age
Yeah.
Oh man.
You guys are mean. Okay, here is my pick. This is what I'm going with, and I'm going with my gut this time. Last time I didn't, so I'm going with it this time. I'm going with Purdue over Oregon. 26. What?
You must got the hey, hold on. You must got the bubble guts. You must got the bubble guts. Yeah.
No.
If you listening to your guts, you must got the bubble guts, man. You need to go use the bathroom.
I literally almost spit my water out on the desk.
Chris listening to his guts again.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, give us the thinking here.
Yeah.
Give us the
Yeah,
thinking.
what is your thinking, Chris?
I gotta see what the line is on
Yeah,
this
but
game.
okay. Oregon just came off a big win against the Ohio State University.
You're right.
Yes, they
Yeah,
did.
I think
absolutely.
they're going to come in, and then they're going to go to Purdue with they have no chance, and Purdue's going to shock the world. Does that sound pretty good?
I think Purdue's going to be just like Vandy.
Dave,
Well,
Dave,
okay, now
Dave,
here's-
Dave,
it-
no. They may academically be like Vandy, but they ain't like Vandy on the field this year. No, they're not. Not one
They should have beat Illinois last week.
Now that is true. They took Illinois right to the wire. Went to overtime, 50-49. So it was a pretty interesting game.
Come on
So
with that.
Purdue
is a
28-point underdog playing at home against Oregon, looking for the letdown. He's looking for the letdown. Oregon just had a huge win over his beloved Buckeyes in a game where the Buckeyes mismanaged the clock, but it was Oregon still very much a playoff contender.
Hey, quickly, did y'all see the story of Coach Landing? And they showed it, I think, on game day last week or the week before that.
The Oregon coach.
Yeah, the Oregon coach. I'm a big fan of his now. I didn't know his whole
Yeah.
story and what went on with his wife and everything else.
Oh,
but I'm a
wow.
big fan of Landing's. I'm a big fan
Wow,
of his.
that's
So.
good stuff.
All right, we move on to Chase McCabe.
But not this weekend.
But not this weekend.
Make no mistake.
That's cold, man.
All right, we move on to Chase McCabe, who once again is delegated to his trusted deputy, Nick Frazier.
Behold the King of Kings. On your knees, dog.
All right. Thanks to Derek Mason, I am looking through my whole entire notepad here of what to pick. This is not good, but I do have a B plan here, plan B. I'm going with Arizona State +5 on the road at Cincinnati.
Arizona State.
That is my probably solid B pick due to the fact that every game they've played this year has been, not to the wire, but they've been handling teams by about 38 points on average, just about around that number. I mean, they're putting up 48 first game, 30 the second game, 31, 35. They even beat Utah 27-19. I mean, come on. This is a team that is ready for the big dance. And I think they can beat Cincinnati on the road.
Arizona State in a traditional rivalry that goes back decades in the Big 12. Arizona State, a 5-point dog on the road at Cincinnati. Now, I wonder how many times they are in the same conference. They are now in the same conference. So, have they ever played each other before? I would love to know that. But Arizona State, who is 5-1, is at the Bearcats, who are 4-2. Interesting pick. Now that brings us to Adam Vingan with the final pick of Week 8 before we get to the people in our next segment. By the way, if you want to be the early bird and make the people's pick and represent 615-737-1025.
And before I make my pick to entice you to call in, if you win, you will receive a pair of tickets to see Gary Clark Jr. at the Ryman Auditorium on Friday, March 7th. So if you would like a chance to win a pair of tickets to see Gary Clark Jr. at the Ryman on Friday, March 7th, call us now, 615-737-1025. Now, David, you can do the honors of introducing my pick. I'm going to head down to the Sun Belt Conference for this one. I really dug in for this one. Live from Brooks Stadium in Conway, South Carolina, I am taking the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers at home against the Ragin' Cajuns of Louisiana. Coastal Carolina is a 4.5-point dog at home. I will take the Chanticleers to defeat the Ragin' Cajuns this weekend.
Okay, he is indeed right. Coastal Carolina, a 4.5-point home dog against Louisiana. Louisiana coming in at 5-1, and the Chanticleers at 4-2. So there you have it. The picks are in, and all four players are still in the competition. I feel like the drama's building. I feel like the audience is going to be happy, and that means the commissioner will look good. The commissioner will look good. And isn't it interesting, without Kelly Holcomb and Plaz on the panel yet, they might make an appearance before it's over. A lot less whining and complaining about the commissioner. It isn't that nice for a guy like me.
Yeah.
We've
Okay.
just directed
And I
it.
want to appreciate you guys for
Yeah.
being more kind
We
to the
just
commissioner than Kelly and George. They're all over me every week.
we've just directed it all towards Chris.
Yeah.
We've just taken it from you and we've given it to Chris with his insane picks.
Hey, but hey, listen, they're listening. They may make a cameo, man, and they're gonna be right back on your head.
Well, it's going to happen. It is going to
It'll
happen.
be total chaos.
All right,
Oh,
let's go
man.
ahead and review the picks for week number 8 in Silly Underdog Picks, presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. Derek Mason with 13.5 points. He picks up Nebraska, 6.5-point dogs at Indiana. The two teams have combined for only one loss, an overtime loss for Nebraska. So Nebraska trying to blemish the Hoosiers on the road. Chris Sanders, the leader in the competition, stays in the Big Ten and goes with the Boilermakers of Purdue, a 28-point home dog against the Oregon Ducks, who are coming off a huge win against Ohio State, and Oregon now very much in the playoff picture. Chase McCabe delegates to Nick Frazier, and Nick selects Arizona State, a 5-point dog at Cincinnati in, yes, a Big 12 matchup. They are in the same conference. Arizona, Cincinnati.
Yes.
Same conference. This is the world we live in now. And then Adam Vingan, coming off a huge win last week with the Commodores, this time doesn't go as far because he's getting closer to the leaders. He goes with Coastal Carolina out of the Sun Belt Conference, a 4.5-point home dog against Louisiana, two of the better teams in that league. Remember, the People's Pick is just around the corner, so call in right now, 615-737-1025, if you want to make the People's Pick and win a prize. Those are our picks for week number 8. Gentlemen, good luck.
Yeah, whatever. You know what? I hope each and every one of y'all, I hope y'all have a great weekend, like with your family and stuff like that. I would never wish anything outside of that. But I hope y'all lose. I really do hope all y'all lose. I hope y'all have a horrible day when it comes to picking.
If Oregon beats Purdue by 28 or more points, can Chris lose points?
You'd have to take that up with our rules committee. This is the 30th year of our competition. We have never had that
Hold
rule
on.
in there.
Is there a rules committee or is it
Oh,
just
yes. There's
Tommy?
a very, very complicated stuff. Rules committee, yes. It's never met, but
we never see the rules committee.
no, it's very secret, very deep undercover.
They don't even know they're in the rules committee.
Apparently, Tommy's on the committee. Willie
Exactly.
Hired.
Right, that's my guy at the NCAA office, Tommy.
So
He's got the landline.
615-737-1025. The People's Pick. If you are correct, you will win a pair of tickets to see Gary Clark Jr. at the Ryman on Friday, March 7th. Call us now, and we will get to that pick. Coming up next, Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025-1063, the game.
All right, let's talk League Company, 615-567-1000. We will transition to some hockey at 1 o'clock with Elliot Friedman. And League Company, of course, will sponsor our coverage beginning at 6 o'clock tonight with Max Hers. The Oilers are in town, and you always enjoy watching some of the biggest stars of the game as Nashville looks for their first win tonight. League Company has been sponsoring the Predators for a long time, and they've been doing great work in people's homes for decades and decades now, 80 years. And they will do it again for our house very soon. They've been doing it in our house. They have great coverage of your heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical systems, plus just general maintenance. Got something going on with a fence, a floor, windows. They've got that department. Just give them a call at 615-567-1000 or just go to leaguecompany.com. That's 615-567-1000 or go leaguecompany.com. League Company, proud sponsor, Nashville Predators.
D-Mays, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We just made our silly underdog picks. And before we get to Craig, who is on our phone line, he's going to represent the people. I was saying to Willie that part of the appeal of the game I chose, Coastal Carolina and Louisiana, is it's a great nickname battle. It's the Chanticleers versus the Ragin' Cajuns. So I said to Willie, what's a Chanticleer?
Yeah, I was
so
about to ask you, what is that?
I typed it in, and the first thing that comes up is a story from Coastal Carolina University. And I quote, the Chanticleer, a proud and fierce rooster.
Who knew?
It's both proud and fierce. So I'm feeling better about my pick already. But Craig is on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, representing the people. Craig, welcome to the competition. What is your pick this week?
Yes, sir. Well, being from New Orleans, but I did live out there by Coastal when I was in the Air Force for 11 years, but I have to go with my Ragin' Cajuns.
Well, I have already selected that, so you will have to pick a different game.
Right, and the Cajuns are the favorite. So remember, you have to pick an underdog, and they have to win outright.
Arkansas, excuse me. I'm going LSU over Arkansas.
Okay.
Well, you've got but Arkansas is the underdog. So you have to take Arkansas if you want that game.
Yeah.
Oh no, well I don't want that game. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you got to pick.
You
somebody
just can't pick your favorite teams who are favored. You got to pick an underdog.
You got to pick somebody that's predicted to lose.
But we love that you're a new new contestant on the show. This is great. Keep going until you find one.
How about Alabama?
Alabama is favored.
Alabama is favored
against Tennessee.
Well, and I don't know if they should be, but they are.
I have to go with Tennessee.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
UT.
Tennessee, and let me check if it's changed at all. They are a 3-point dog at home against Alabama. So, Craig, you've got this set.
Hey, Craig, are you from New Orleans?
Yes, sir. I've been over Mount Juliet for 9 years.
Is it New Orleans or New Orleans?
New Orleans.
New Orleans. All right. And thank you for your service. We do appreciate that.
Yes, sir. I knew we'd get this figured out. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but you watch this pick, I think.
I like it.
I like it, Craig.
Craig, thank you so much. Welcome to the competition, and good luck choosing Tennessee to take down Alabama.
That was awesome
this weekend.
Hey, UT fans, the real UT fans, they liking that pick. They like that pick. I don't know how that game's going to go, but they like that pick.
We shall see.
Yeah.
Good luck to Craig. If he wins, he'll receive a pair of tickets to see Gary Clark Jr. at the Ryman in March. So at the top of the show, we were discussing Will Levis, as is our wont, and his comments yesterday after practice, talking about how he didn't feel like they practiced well. And we talked about where he said his confidence is and whether or not we believe he is as confident as he says. But another hot topic of conversation around the Tennessee Titans is the connection or lack thereof between Will Levis and Calvin Ridley.
Mm-hmm.
And we heard what Calvin Ridley had to say after the game on Sunday, after the loss to the Colts. 0 catches on 8 targets. He used some naughty words to describe his frustration with not getting the ball early enough in the game. At 8 targets, the first target came at the start of the second quarter. 5 of the targets came in the fourth quarter. Calvin Ridley was asked yesterday about those comments after a few days to maybe cool down, and this is what Calvin Ridley said yesterday after practice.
On Sunday, I think I was more frustrated about losing and not really helping in the beginning or anything. I wasn't frustrated with my coach, players, or anything. I was just want to help us lose if we're gonna lose. You know what I'm saying? That's all I was trying to say. Mm-hmm. Like when you're frustrated, it just comes out. I was mad, but I wasn't frustrated at my teammates or anything. I'm just frustrated with losing. I want to win. I want to be a part of the winning. We got a good team. We should be winning. That's all I feel. And my emotions came out. But I believe in my team, myself, my coaches, and everything. I want to help us win, and that's all. I want to help. Yeah, you just want to activate yourself. You want to know what type of day it is. You just want to get the ball in your hand any way you can to activate yourself. You're at the game, and once you get it again. Now you're ready to make plays and move. And that's all I was trying to say, really. But it came out a little different.
Brian.
That was Calvin Ridley yesterday after practice. Should we place that in the wide receiver translator, Derek?
Go ahead.
Let's do it. I put David on the spot here.
Yes.
I'll do it if I have to. Wide receiver translator. All right, Derek, let's put it in the
receiver
There we
translator.
go. Thank you,
There we
David.
go.
Sorry about that. Derek.
Because listen, that he was right. He was frustrated. And because he wants to be a part of them winning. Now he said, if we're gonna lose, I want to be a part of y'all of losing.
I thought that was an interesting comment.
Yeah, I think that was a slip. But you were a part of the reason why they lost. I mean, you contributed to the loss as well. I mean, you had a few balls that, if we're speaking honest here, which I do, those are passes you should have caught. And I'm sure you looked at the film, Calvin Ridley, and was like, yeah, those 2 passes I should have caught. There's no way I should have dropped those passes. And when you say that about a guy, that means you believe in what he can do. And there's going to be drop passes here and there. But in situations like this, man, when you can't get into the rhythm of the game, or they're not looking, to throw you the ball, or you haven't touched the ball, when it comes your way, you got to catch it, because you don't know when it's going to come back your way. But, one drop sort of compounds another drop, and then you're frustrated because you wasn't getting the ball early and they try to give it to you late. So he's frustrated. He wants to be a part of winning. He wants to contribute to the team. He wants to show everybody that he was worth the money that they paid him. Because listen, whether players, I hear players all the time, I don't listen to it. I don't listen. Yes, you do. You do listen to stuff like that. And, if it continues to go the way that it has been going, meaning him not being targeted early on, what fans are going to say is he's not worth the money that you're paying him. He's not, holding up his end in the bargain. And that may not even be the case. You just may not be getting the opportunities. But when you have an opportunity or two to catch the football, man, you got to do it. So I get his frustration. And, he owned up to it, and he didn't throw anybody under the bus. He said he needs to get better. He needs to do better. But he's right. When you are the number one, when you are the lead dog, then you want to feel as if you're a part of the game. As he said, you want to be activated. However that happens, whether it be on reverses, catching the football, you got to get your top playmaker into the game early and often.
I do think at the end of the day, Calvin Ridley is what Brian Callahan said he is. His heart's in the right place. He may not be the most media savvy, polished interview person. And I think he's being sincere when he said, look, the heat of the moment, he's frustrated. They lost. The team's not doing well. And I do think he's feeling the weight of getting the big contract, and everybody's looking around saying, why isn't Ridley doing well?
Yep.
Right? Because there is responsibility that comes with being the free agent, high-paid guy that comes over from another team. So I think that was the right move by him to do that. And now we'll see what happens in the next game. At the end of the day, it's going to be, how do you perform? And I guess I would have liked to have heard him say in there, hey, there are a couple balls in there I got to catch.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I don't think I heard him say that in either one of the interviews.
I think he said it after the game.
Did he say
said,
that?
I suck and I got to play better.
He did say he sucked. Yeah. And I think
that part did get
that
left out
encompasses that. Yeah.
in a
That
lot of these
basically gets that.
conversations.
Yes. No question. It was, you're right. And it was deleted. But I think that's hopefully the lesson he learned is that when you do that, they're only going to take the most provocative things that make you look bad. And that's what's going to go on the sound reel that gets played over and over and over.
So one question that I've had through this process, and this is something we've been talking about since training camp, about the connection between Will Levis and Calvin Ridley, and something is amiss. But the question that I've been wondering is, let's portion the blame. Is it more on Calvin Ridley? Is it more on Will Levis? And I've found some numbers that I feel like maybe could help us find an answer, which we'll get to next. 615-737-1037. 1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025, 1063. The game.
Mark your calendars. This is D. Mason. Mark your calendars. November 9th, the Iron Goddess all-female show is coming to Nashville, which is presented by Law Tigers. Meet us at the fairgrounds as female riders from all over the world will be in attendance. Come out and see some of these beautiful custom bikes, from choppers to mini bikes, from cruisers to sport bikes. All makes and models are encouraged to come. Get your tickets now at IronGoddessMotorcycleShow.com. That's IronGoddessMotorcycleShow.com. Enjoy a day of live music, vendor village, tasty food, and so much more. Show off your bike in one of their many competitions and win cash prizes. All spectators are welcome, and kids under 16 are free with paid tickets. So get yours today. That's the Iron Goddess Motorcycle Show.com. Go there, get the tickets November 9th. See you there.
D-Mays, Fingin and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, live from Bridgestone Arena, where the Nashville Predators host the Edmonton Oilers tonight at 7 o'clock. A big game for the Predators, looking for their first win of the season against a club they haven't had much success against in recent years. We'll get into the hockey conversation in the next segment with Elliot Freeman of Sportsnet and the 32 Thoughts podcast. But we're still talking Will Levis and Calvin Ridley. And as we've been discussing the lack of connection between the two, I'm sure a lot of us have been wondering, okay, is it more on Calvin Ridley or is it more on Will Levis? And there are different ways to go about doing this. You could simply use your eyes. And I'm sure that's something that Derek would be far more qualified. I know Derek would be far more qualified to do than me. So oftentimes I rely on statistics and such to answer these questions. So I was reading a story on paulkaharski.com, and he mentioned the Calvin Ridley having 9 catches on 27 targets. Now, Paul says in his story that he thinks 5 of the throws from Levis on Sunday were uncatchable, and that Ridley could have done more to pull in the other 3. He then mentions, according to fantasypros.com, only 11 of the 27 throws that Levis has made to Ridley have rated as catchable, with 2 dropped. Now, I'm not sure how fantasypros.com goes about figuring this out, but according to them, via Paul Kaharski, 11 of the 27 throws from Levis to Ridley have rated as catchable with 2 drops. So there's one way to think about it. The other is this fancy stat that the NFL uses, their next-gen stats uses. It's called catch rate over expected, which measures the difficulty of completion using a number of factors: separation from the nearest defender, depth of target, and speed, among other things. Players boasting higher catch rates over expected have consistently made difficult, unlikely catches more often than the rest. These are the ones, receivers, who you can count on to make the tough grabs. According to Next Gen Stats, Calvin Ridley's catch rate over expected on Sunday was negative 46.4%, which, according to their analytics, suggests that Calvin Ridley should have caught 3 to 4 of the targets that were thrown his way. Now, one thing I'm not sure of is if that catch rate over expected involves anything involving the quarterback. It sounds like it might just be simply based on what the receiver does, not necessarily the ball that the quarterback throws. So I think that's one thing to keep in mind. But according to Next Gen Stats, Calvin Ridley had a catch rate over expected of negative 46.4%.
Well, there and listen, in the midst of Calvin Ridley's frustration, he did say, "Hey, listen, I need to play better. I suck today," to use some choice words. Listen, no one's going to be harder on you than yourself. At least that's how it should be, because there's an expectation. There's a standard that you set for yourself. If someone else is setting your standards, then I don't think you will ever be able to sort of reach those. You have to be able to set standards for yourself. You have to be able to set the high standard of what you want to be and what you want to accomplish in this game. No one else can set that standard for you. But he did say, listen, I didn't play well. And I'm sure there are, once he went back and watched film, there's always 1 or 2 throws, maybe even 3 throws that you think in the back of your mind, whether they were, what people may have deemed uncatchable or not. You feel in your mind you should have caught it, regardless of what the outcome was. But there were 2 that I felt that Calvin Ridley should have caught. One hit his hands, he had it, and the defensive back, it seemed like Calvin Ridley almost relaxed, as if he was catching it, but he was thinking like, finally, y'all threw me the ball. Like, seriously, y'all threw it finally. And he wasn't, I think he was so much still in his feelings as far as being frustrated rather than really, zeroing in on catching a football. And he allowed himself to relax. and not become one with the football. The defensive back made a good play, but that's one he should have caught. The other one, there was another one he should have caught. I think it was in the middle of the field or toward the sideline that got into his body, and he ended up dropping it. And I'm sure there was another one in there that he should have caught. So it's not all, on the play calling and the quarterback. You have to take responsibility for balls that hit your hand. I've always said, if it hit your hands, it was catchable. That's basically how it was.
And that's interesting to me is what some of the measures get used for some of the different analytics you're talking about, Adam, because there's always the eye test versus what these numbers are saying. And it is only 5 games. So we do have to keep that in mind. I think these numbers will really be something to watch after 12 or 15 games, how they change and do they stay consistent, because Calvin Ridley's got to hope that it's better. The whole connection thing that people started theorizing in the practices. But I would contend that I don't know that there's one guy that Will Levis really does connect with. I guess you could say D-Hop to some degree.
Yeah.
But really this year, I don't know if I'm seeing that Ridley's any different than any of the other guys. That would be my take.
No, I don't. I don't think that. I wonder. This is what I wonder.
As far as this, I know where he's going to be. I'm going to throw it there. Yeah,
because it's the what offensive coordinators, at least from my from my experience, they've always said, listen, just be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there, because all of this is about timing. Especially in today's football, the passing game is about timing, and because the athletes are so different, and which means they are a lot better now than they were years ago. Yeah, I'm just talking strictly the athletes. Then everything has to be rhythm and timing, because if you're not on time and you're not in rhythm, you give those defensive backs opportunities to make plays on a football. So they got to figure out how to get their timing down. I don't know how they do it. You say, well, he may have some, he may have better rapport with D-Hop. Yeah, but there were situations where he didn't hit D-Hop as well, where it seemed like the timing was off with D-Hop. I don't know how they fixed that so late. It's not late in the season, but I'm not sure it's not too late. It may be too late to fix the chemistry part. If y'all understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's not late in the season, but maybe it's too late to try. That's like a guy. It's almost like Calvin Ridley got traded in the middle of the season. Like he just got traded there, and they're trying to build a rapport with him rather than he had the off season. He had 2 days to build that rapport. It's almost seemed like he just got there, yesterday. That's how the timing seems to me.
Chemistry is such a tricky thing. I recall an old Mets quote way back in the day from Kevin McReynolds, who was the most deadpan, non-interview guy, and he was playing in New York for the Mets. And he didn't like talking to the media or anything. They asked him about the Mets were struggling. He was struggling, and they asked him about team chemistry. He goes, I don't know. I'm not a chemist. But you can't make chemistry happen. It just sort of happens, right?
Yeah, and it's
like people. The Predators are looking for who meshes well with Stamkos and Marchessault. So that chemistry has not come together yet, and they're going to keep looking for it. But you can't make it happen, right?
Yeah, you can't.
It has to just happen.
It has to happen, but it comes with repetition. It comes with time on task, and that's why and during practice and camp, when guys were not practicing or missing days, people were like, oh, don't worry about it. They'll be able to get it right. D-Hop has chemistry with them. They'll be able to give it right. For all y'all that said that, y'all don't know football. Y'all don't know football at all, because each and every year it's rebuilding that chemistry each and every year. When I left here and went to Baltimore, and then Steve came the next following year, I had to build that chemistry back up with him, because he hadn't thrown a football to me in over a year. So we had to build that chemistry up. Just because we played together for 8 years doesn't mean like after a year of not playing together, we can hop on a bike and let's go. No, it's not that easy.
So there's not a baseline. Let's use numbers. Let's say chemistry with Steve McNair was a 10 out of 10. when you reunited, was it not at like a 3, or did it go all the way back down
No,
to
it's
0?
we're starting back at ground zero because the
Okay.
offense is different. What they're asking him to do, what they're asking me to do, is totally different. You know, they may want him to use different footwork for different plays. Everything is different, so we have to start back ground level. We got to build this foundation back up again. Now, it may not take as long as it did when we first built it, but we got to build it back up. So when guys miss practice, when guys are not there, that's why, listen, I spent 15 years in the NFL. And the only reason I missed practice, I had a broken scapula. And you know what? I still practice the last 30 minutes of practice each day. Why? Because in certain areas, we wanted to keep that chemistry going. I couldn't afford to not practice or have a veteran day. I remember Brian Billick came to me one day and was like, I'm getting ready for practice. He was like, you got the day off. I'm looking at him like, no, I don't want the day off. I'm a new guy here. I'm trying to build chemistry with the quarterback. I don't need a day off. I'm not tired. If I'm tired, so what? This is what I get paid for. I'm the best conditioned athlete on this field. Why? Because I run all day. No matter what the play is. Run play, pass play, I'm running. So to me, that chemistry is a lot. And when guys are not practicing for whatever reason, or you hold them out for a veteran day, you are not good enough to have veteran days. You're not. I'm going to repeat it again. You are not. And I'm not talking about the player. I'm saying the team. You are not good enough to have veteran days. When y'all are winning 5 or 6 games in a row, when y'all have more wins than losses, then we can give you a veteran day. But until then, nope, you got to practice. That's just the way it is. That's how you build chemistry. I'm just saying, man.
I can't disagree with anything you're saying.
And I'm not pointing at one person. I'm just saying as a whole. You don't get a veteran day until we start winning ball games around here. Until the quarterback can throw to you with his eyes closed, that's when you're going to start getting veteran days. Other than that, nobody gets veteran days anymore. Nobody. I don't care who you are. If you're a 15-year vet or a first-year player, no days off unless you're hurt. No days off.
615-737-1025. Coming up next, Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet, NHL Insider, 32 Thoughts podcast will join us for his weekly conversation about the NHL. We'll get into the Predators as well as they prepare to face the Edmonton Oilers tonight here at Bridgestone Arena. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
All right, let's tell you about F&M Bank. We take it to the bank Fridays at 1:45 on our show. F&M Bank has great coverage for you. Their motto, banking made easy on purpose. Doesn't that sound like a smart approach? Make your finances easier. Your life's tough enough. You got plenty going on in your life. Why make the finances any tougher? They've got a lot of methods to do that. One of the things that they want you to know about is the Smart Swipe debit card, just a simple way to save money. They're going to round up to the nearest dollar. You go to the grocery store, sometimes they ask you to round up to the nearest dollar for a charity or something like that. Well, the Smart Swipe card does this for every purchase. And over time, every time you use that card, you're going to be saving money. And you will accumulate some good savings over time. Just one of many tools they've got at F&M Bank. Just find the nearest location. They've got 20 of them in our listening area, all the way up into Hopkinsville, Kentucky. Shout out up there. Go to myfmbank.com and find one of those locations. That's myfmbank.com. It's F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
D. Mays, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingan here with you at Bridgestone Arena, where the Nashville Predators will host the Edmonton Oilers tonight at 7 o'clock. And joining us, as he does every Thursday at 1 o'clock, the one and only Elliot Freeman of Sportsnet NHL Insider 32 Thoughts podcast. And Elliot, the Predators will be seeking their first win of the season tonight against the Oilers. But before we get to the Predators, I want to ask you about the other team in the NHL that has yet to win a game, surprisingly. The Colorado Avalanche lost 5-3 to Boston last night to drop to 0-4 on the season.
Yep.
Alexander Georgiev has allowed 17 goals in 4 games, a goals against average of 5.79 and a save percentage of 800. Is it time to really panic about the goaltending in Colorado, and what can the Avalanche possibly do to shore up that position?
Let's see, Adam. Do we want to go with really panic, mildly panic? Like what level of the panic scale? Like it's not good. Like, I mean, at the beginning of every year, there's always somebody who really struggles. Like there's somebody who gets off to a blistering start, and there's always somebody who struggles, right? And it's a good player too. And you wait, okay, how long are we going to take to get out of this? Now, Georgiev, like I watched that game last night. It's not only that he's getting beaten, because he is, but they are bleeding chances. Like there were times in that game where it looked like the momentum was going back to Colorado, and Boston would just grab it back or they'd score. And that's the amazing thing about all of this to me, is that not only is Georgiev not been good, they've been really leaky. Now, I think they could, I'm sure they're looking. I have no doubt they're looking. But I'm looking around and I'm saying, okay, who's available here? Who's available there? I don't know how, like, I wondered about a guy like Mackenzie Blackwood in San Jose. But other than that, like, there aren't too many guys you look at, Adam, at this point in the season, and you see, oh, you know, here's a team that's willing to move off a goaltender. Because A, a lot of the goaltenders are locked in, and B, you know, a lot of these teams, they're obviously still in it. It's very early, and they don't necessarily want to throw up the white flag so quickly.
Back to the Predators, Elliot. Tonight they face the Edmonton Oilers, and the second line will look different once again. The expectation is that Steven Stamkos will work on the left wing with Tommy Novak at center and Luke Evangelista on the right wing. So that's 4 different second lines to start each game for the Predators this season. We talked a lot about the importance of Novak in particular, shoring up that second line center position. But I'm wondering if, I mean, again, as you said, it's early. The Predators haven't won a game, but there's still a long way to go. I am also, though, wondering if Barry Trotz is going to be keeping his eye on potential players who could be second-line fits for this team, considering that Andrew Burnett has not been able to find a combination on that second line that works.
Boy, you might as well be asking, Barry to find like a chest full of gold bars, because that's about the same as finding a second line center. Like there's a reason why top center is one of the hardest positions to find in the NHL. And it's because like once you have one of those guys, you do not want to give them up. This is probably a source of frustration for the Predators. Like they clearly were hoping that this wouldn't take as long. One of the things is, and I probably should have been more aware of this at the start of the season. You can go back through history and you can find a lot of guys who signed a big deal or moved somewhere, and their first year is a big drop off. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen with Stamkos or Marchessault or anyone like that, but Stamkos had a real chemistry in Tampa. He, especially on the power play, he knew what they were going to do. He knew all those guys' tendencies. He was very comfortable. And now he's got to and plus some of those guys are some of the best players in the league. And I think he's probably going through an adjustment process right now. They're going through an adjustment process with him. And obviously trying to find the right combination, but it's got to be a huge change from what Stamkos is used to, obviously off the ice, but also on it. And, you guys are going through that right now. I think, obviously this is a big time for Novak. They're asking a lot of him, but, you're hoping that he could rise up to the challenge. I think this is a really big period for him, because the Predators are going to find out, he's always been a good offensive player and he's kind of been moving up, but now they're asking him to show that he is that kind of a player. And you can't just do it in 1 or 2 games. I mean, if you keep losing, which I don't think you will, but if you keep losing, then, you probably get forced into something or pushed into something faster than you want to. But in an ideal world, you probably have to give them half a season. You probably have to say, 40 games, we're sticking with it. That's what you'd like to do in a perfect world, and say, we're really going to give you runway to prove what you can do. But if the losing continues, you lose patience for that. But this is Novak's time to show that he's got that ceiling. The Predators are asking him to do it, and he has to show it.
We'll talk with Elliot Friedman, 32 Thoughts podcast. Now, Elliot, I've looked at some of the scores throughout the NHL in the first 5 or 6 games, and we have some scores that whether it be last night, Pittsburgh beats Buffalo 6-5, Toronto beats LA 6-3, 6-2. The Preds give up 7 goals last game.
Don't forget that epic game between Ottawa and Los Angeles.
8-7. So you see a lot of scoring early on in this league. And when I look at other sports, whether football in particular, because I know that sport in and out, a lot of it has to do with guys not playing in the preseason, wanting to hold guys back. And then once they finally get in there during the regular season, that chemistry has to be built. Is that the same thing here in hockey that we're seeing, where these guys are not playing, in the preseason? They don't have a lot of time together in the offseason, and this is what it ends up being, high-scoring games, at least early on in the season.
Yeah, I think there's something to that, Derek. This is not unusual to see that. I think there's a couple other things at play too, Derek. I think for a long time, the goalies were ahead of the scorers in this league, and now I think that's balanced out. For example, there used to be 20 true stud goalies in the NHL. Now there's much less than that. You guys have got one, but there are many fewer than that. And that's one of the things I think has really changed, is that there aren't as many stud A-level goalies as there used to be. The other thing, Derek, I think, is that in about the last 15 to 20 years, a lot of these young players started working with skills coaches, and they became better shooters at a younger age. Goaltending got to a point where it was about stick the biggest guy in the net and play the percentages to cover the most space you can cover. And the areas you give up, were like tiny areas, like above the shoulder or in between, like maybe an arm and the post or something like that, like places that not everybody could hit. Now everybody can hit those. Like you see these goals that these kids are scoring now, they're scoring from ridiculous angles. They're putting them in tight areas. The quality of the shooters is the best it's ever have been, and probably by about a mile. And so I think and also too, we have a league now where, you know, people always want there to be less interference. There's probably less interference than ever. Like, you know, Derek, it's like when they told Lester Hayes, you can't go up to your shoulders and stick them anymore. Like, you know, you can't, or they told like Mike Haynes, he can't hold guys and tackle them anymore before the ball gets there. That is between the quality of the shooters and they try to take down the interference. I think it's finally tilted the game more towards offense.
Talking to Elliot Friedman, 32 Thoughts, Hockey Night in Canada. Elliot, you got me thinking when Adam was asking you about going out and trying to find some help somewhere down the road. One thing that's tied to it, of course, is the Ryan Johansson grievance. Any sense of the timing of that or when that will be hashed out? Because obviously the Predators would love to have it sooner than later.
You know, it's funny you asked me that because, you know, I knew I was coming on here today, and I said, what are the chances that someone asked me about this? So I actually did homework, which
We are
is
well
not
prepared
like
on this program, Elliot.
Yeah. So basically, there's two types of grievances, Willie. One is called an expedited grievance, and the other is I don't know. It's like I don't know if you call it unexpedited or non-expedited or dis-expedited, but basically an expedited grievance. An expedited grievance is a fast one where people say we need a ruling quickly. This is not that. This is not an expedited grievance from what I understand. So it's going to be some time before we know.
So does that mean like you need to get like your buddies, you know, to put some like lobbyists or goons, whatever you're going to call them, like knocking on the door? Hey, I want you to expedite this. So this is my friend Luca Brasi from The Godfather.
My goons are not interested in this one. We're not going to wrap up anybody from this one.
Well, Elliot, I do have a quick follow-up to that because last season, Corey Perry went through this process. Would that have been considered an expedited one or an unexpedited one?
That one was expedited quickly because if I remember correctly, Adam, it was because I think it also had something to do. I don't have this right in front of me. But it also, like, he was never like banned or punished or anything like that. But I think everybody just needed clarity. Oh, you know what? Actually, you know what? I have to, because he was never punished or like formally banned. He did meet with the commissioner, but he was never formally. I think it was only for the salary. The salary was the only thing that was grieved, not his status. So I'd have to check and see. It's a good question. I'd have to look back because he was never formally punished or anything like that. So it wasn't like he had to reinstate himself. The only argument was about what happened to the rest of his salary. And I don't remember if that one was expedited or not. I'd have to check.
Elliot, Edmonton comes in tonight. We remember their struggles early in the year last year.
Yeah.
They had to make a coaching change. They got their first win on Tuesday. If you had to point to one thing that's been off with them so far this year, what would you put your finger to?
Well, the number one before they won that game against Philly, I think they were shooting something like 3%, and that never happens. I think if I remember correctly, I looked this up the other day. The lowest shooting percentage in a season is 7%. So they were on like a historic low bender, even though it was in the first week. So that was one thing, Willie. I would say also they've lost some speed. They look slow. And I never thought I would say that about a team with McDavid. But between McLeod, who got traded to Buffalo, and Holloway and Broberg, who went in the offer sheets, speed is not only skates, but how quickly you move the puck. You know, puck travels faster than humans, so you've got to move that thing fast too. They weren't doing any of that quickly. They weren't. They were shooting at a historic low, and they didn't look quick. Their defensive pairs, they're really searching for a second pair that works behind your old buddy Ekholm and Bouchard, who's their number one pair. So I know you told me one thing, but I was never good at following instructions. That was the kind of thing I would tell you.
It sounds eerily similar to some of the things that Andrew Burnett's talking about. He said exactly what you said. We look a little slow, and it's because of the connectivity. It has nothing to do with playing hard or trying to skate as fast as you can skate. But the connection is there. And I would say the Predators couldn't be too far behind the Oilers right now with shooting percentage, because they are getting tons of shots. They're just not going in. So it will be interesting to see which team can figure it out a little bit more tonight.
Well, I think the other thing too, Willie, is like the other night when your game against Seattle, it was 3-3 after 2, and I went to go watch like another game, and I don't remember which one I was watching, but all of a sudden I looked at your score and it was like 7-3. I was like, what on earth happened? And I went back and looked at it. Like, you guys looked really leaky. Like it was like there were some real breakdowns there. You know, I tend not to think there's too much change in structure. Like, every coach has tweaks and every team has tweaks they do with structure, but generally, like, a lot of the systems are similar, right? And maybe it was just one of those nights where a bunch of new players had a rough night mixed in with the old guys. But it was weird watching you guys in the third period the other night. It was like nobody was on the same page. That was very strange.
We had a big signing earlier today with Jake Ottinger, and the more we watch this, our discussion on the show as Ottinger now is signed, Linus Ullmark, even a guy like Joey Decord, it looks more and more, and you've pointed this out a bunch of times. You said it at the time. UC Saros said, look, I know I could probably get more. I could play this out, but I want to be here. I want to get this done. But the goalie market, the Predators have to kind of like that contract, I think, more and more as time goes forward, because we still are waiting for the big one, and that is Shesterkin, which obviously will get done at some point, and he's going to set a new bar.
Yes, and you know, one of the things that really helped, like I heard later that like Boston really like wanted to do like something similar with Swayman as the Saros number, but you know, Tennessee is a tax-free state and Massachusetts isn't. So that, I think, was one of the factors in there. I heard later. You know, I think you guys got Saros on a great deal. I know it hasn't looked pretty for everyone at the beginning of this year, but I think it's a great deal. And the other thing, Willie, is we went through a phase where goalies weren't getting paid. I don't know if it's just because Bobrovsky won the Stanley Cup a few months ago, but goalies are getting paid again. And I think it's because if you really, like we talked earlier when Derek asked, there are fewer A-level guys. And I think teams recognize that if you have one, you have to keep them.
It's funny because the previous year, when the Vegas Golden Knights won the Stanley Cup with Aiden Hill in goal, who, if I recall correctly, wasn't even dressed for their first game of the postseason. That then changed the perception to, hey, you don't need to pay $10 million a season for a goalie as long as you can find one who can get hot at the right time. But to your point,
well,
Elliot,
if you look back at them, like before Bobrovsky last year, it was Aiden Hill, it was Kemper. Now Vasilevsky's a bit of a different animal. Jordan Binnington had the hottest run at the right time. Like, there was a phase there. Like, Corey Crawford won a couple Stanley Cups for Chicago.
Braden Holtby.
You know, Braden Holtby. Holtby was a really good goalie, but you know, like, Holtby was a really good goalie. But you remember, like the Penguins went through Fleury and Murray, and like it was like it's almost like, to me, it's like your philosophy to me is dependent on how good is your guy. If you have access to one of those top level guys, you're keeping them. If you don't, it's better to say, okay, we're not going to spend as much money here, and we're going to figure out the rest of our lineup. And it's worked for some teams.
By the way, Edmonton shooting 4.7% at 5-on-5. Nashville shooting 4.6% at 5-on-5. Two of the lowest.
There's going to be no red light burns tonight. Is that what you're telling us, Adam?
Actually, I expect another 8-7 thriller around here.
Oh. While we're speaking about tonight, real quick, Elliot, tonight Luke Shen plays in his 1,000th game. He's got his whole family here. He's got a lot of people who are coming in because they play tonight, and then they play Saturday where they'll actually have the ceremony because he will play in game 1,000 tonight. So it's like a weekend thing. So the Shens have invaded here, but just a pro in every sense of the way. But I know you've gone way back with him. You've known him for a long time, but you always have to tip your hat to a guy that's been around the league that much and has done what he's done.
Well, I think this. I think that it's not as hard on the body to play 1,000 games as it used to be because the game has changed so much. It's still a tough game, particularly in the playoffs, but I think there's more times in the regular season where it's less punishing. That said, what I think is one of the things that becomes a factor now, especially if you're a defenseman, to play 1,000 games in this league, you have to be valuable, and B, you really have to turn yourself into either a great skater or a really positionally sound defenseman. Like a guy like Roman Josi, he's going to play as long as he wants to because he's such a brilliant skater and he's so good at what he does. Like a guy like Luke Shen was a very high pick and he's a really good player, but he kind of bounced around a little bit and he had to fight and scramble and scratch his way to 1,000. Like there were times that people thought, his career was done. I remember he went on waivers a few years ago, and I reached out to him, and he said, there are people out there saying I'm going to retire. I want you to tell everybody I am not retiring. They are going to have to drag me out of here. I am not giving up. And you know what? That's got to be, we were at our old offices, I think, when that happened. So that's got to be 5-6 years ago. And so just think about how many guys, and Derek, you could probably answer this as well as anyone, how many guys are like in that phase and last 5 or 6 more years? Not many. And I think that's real credit to his love of the game and his drive.
Elliot Freeman of Sportsnet, NHL Insider, 32 Thoughts Podcast, Hockey Night in Canada. What does this guy not do? Elliot, thank you so much for joining us. We'll chat next week.
All right, guys. Enjoy the game tonight.
Thanks, Elliot. 615-737-1025. We will discuss the Predators matchup against the Edmonton Oilers. Easy for me to say. Next, Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, what if you could be debt-free by this January? I'm talking about all that high-interest debt. Pay off that credit card bill that's got the high interest, maybe a car loan, something similar. Consolidate everything into one lower payment. This is a good financial move. So let Loan Pronto set you up. So if you're ready to stop stressing over all this, call Loan Pronto right now, 615-499-5780. The rates are at their lowest in 2 years, so this is a great chance to use your home's equity and save big going into the new year. When you do this, you can save an average of $850 a month. So call right now, 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com and get a rate quote in just minutes with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees like those other guys. Loanpronto.com, 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781 on approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025, 1063 the game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, live from Bridgestone Arena, where the Predators will take on the Edmonton Oilers tonight at 7 o'clock, looking for their first win of the season. The Predators have had a hard time, to say the least, against the Edmonton Oilers in recent seasons. They are 4-10-1 in their past 15 games against the Oilers. They have been outscored 61-37 in those 15 games. Leon Draisaitl in those 15 games, 23 goals, 37 points in 15 games. That's about 2.5 points per game. Connor McDavid, a modest 33 points in 14 games, 8 goals, 25 assists in 14 games against the Predators over that span. So it's tough sledding for the Predators tonight against the Oilers. There was a time, Willie, as you know, where the Predators could not lose to the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, it was completely flip-flopped the other way. It's like the old All-Star game in baseball. Back when I was growing up, the National League just dominated the American League every year. Now it's completely flip-flopped, the American League. So it is cycles. I would say that last year, the Andrew Brunette Predators fared much better, even though they lost a couple of games where if you look at the final score, the Oilers won the game. Even the first meeting here last year was lopsided in favor of Edmonton, but the Predators played much, much better. They weren't getting blown away in the guts of the game. In fact, I think the game they lost in Edmonton, they did win. They won at Edmonton earlier in the year, which contributed to the Oilers' bad start, which had them change coaches after a disastrous start. They played later in the season when the Predators were really starting to get their game together. They hadn't put it all together yet, but they outplayed the Oilers. They ended up losing. The Oilers made some plays because they've got the best playmakers in the game, Draisaitl and McDavid. There are going to be some games where they just do their thing, as you just noted, often against the Predators.
Yes.
But during the 60 minutes, I thought the Predators had better chances. They outplayed them, but it just wasn't. They didn't get the results. There are a lot of games like that. So I think that's what I want to see tonight. We might see something completely different tonight because, as we just kind of laid out there, what did you say? The shooting percentages are both very low. Both of these teams have been getting a ton of shots and a lot of chances, but they haven't gone in, and they've had a lot of problems on the other end of the ice. So does that mean we're going to see an 8-7 tonight or an 8-6, something like that?
They have 2 of the 3 worst 5-on-5 shooting percentages in the NHL, 30th and 31st. 4.7 for Edmonton, 4.6 for Nashville.
And what is it overall? Each of them only have 1 power play goal, so it can't be much better on the power play.
That is true. Well, the Predators are 1-for-11 on the power
and
play.
Edmonton is 1-for-9.
Okay.
And that is maybe the scariest stat of all because the Edmonton power play is going to shoot up. By the end of the year, they are going to be 25%. They are the best one I have seen since the Predators came into the league in 1998. I have not seen a better power play than Edmonton's power play. They ain't going to sit at 1-for-9, 11% or whatever that is forever. It's going to happen. So I hope it doesn't happen tonight because it's going to correct itself at some point.
Yeah,
or if it does, then the Nashville power play, which has done everything but score, they need to kick in with a couple power play goals.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a high-scoring game here tonight.
As long as the Preds come out on the winning end, it don't matter.
Yeah,
it could be
they'll take
13,
anything,
14.
yeah.
I take it as long as they win.
14-13. I feel I can only imagine what Barry Trotz would be thinking.
14-13.
Of all people, Barry Trotz watching
That's
a
more than the Titans.
14-13 game. Yeah, I mean, hey,
Yeah.
we shall
Oh,
see. But
man.
as we mentioned with Elliot Friedman, the Predators are going to use another second line combination this evening. The expectation is that Tommy Novak will move back up to second line center, with Steven Stamkos moving back to the left wing and Luke Evangelista on the right. Novak and Evangelista certainly have chemistry. We were talking about chemistry earlier. Tommy Novak and Luke Evangelista certainly have chemistry. The expectation, or the hope, I should say, is that that chemistry can perhaps help spark Steven Stamkos, who's still looking for his first goal as a member of the Nashville Predators. But this is now 4 different starting second line combinations, 1 in each game. And I understand what Andrew Brunette is trying to do. I would like to see him exercise a little more patience. And I know they're 0-3, and you don't want to dig yourself an early hole. But even if, let's just say, this formation of the second line doesn't work out tonight, I would like Andrew Brunette to stick with a combination for a few games and see if it works over time. Willie, as you've said, Brunette has admitted maybe he's thinking too much about the line combinations, but I would like to see this line, or if they decide to go back to one of the other second lines they've tried, I would like to see it stick for a few games before making another.
Willie, do you think that the reason that Coach Bruno is doing this and is doing it early is because, listen, the expectation when you go out and get these particular players that are, at one point in their career have been 40 goal scorers, and you still believe they were last season. So what makes you think they're not going to be this season? When that expectation is there and you spend the money and go out and get them, do you sort of, and I'm not saying that he is, do you sort of, you believe you feel the pressure of trying to make it work because of the guys that you went out and paid money to go get? That's why it's like, okay, let me change it now. Let me change it here. And let me try to find the perfect combination. Whereas there's not going to be a perfect combination. You just want to figure out who works well together. And the pressure could be because you spent the money to go get these guys, and now you're trying to make it work.
The expectation level definitely went higher. From what I've heard from Andrew Brunette, I think he is quite a bit more disappointed with the guys that are back from last year than he is with the new guys. I think he expects the new guys, even though they are decorated star players from their past places, right? That you can't be much more decorated than Stamkos and Marchessault. Brady Shea's been on consistent winners his entire career, for first the Rangers and then even more so with Carolina when he became the player that he is that earned that contract. I think he is very confident that all three of those guys are going to come around, but it's going to take more than 3 games. Elliot was saying 40 games. I'm sure Predator fans cringed when he heard that, when they're like, wait, 40 games? You can't wait 40 games. But, it's going to take a little time. And Andrew Brunette said that. What should not be a problem is the guys that learned the system last year. It took some time to learn that system, right? They were 5-10. Once it kicked in, you started seeing consistent play. Guys were on the same page, and they got great results. And for the first half of the season, they weren't even getting the kind of goaltending that they hoped to get from UC Saros because he had a subpar first half. He started looking like the Vezina Trophy guy in the second half, and it all came together. So right now, I think you're looking around at Lausanne and Carrier, McCarron, Cole Smith, Colton Sissons, Evangelista, Nyquist, O'Reilly, Forsberg. These are the guys that have been there, and they're the ones that need to carry the weight, carry the freight, with the connectivity of the team, more so than the 3 new guys who you can understand it's going to take a little time to get it together.
I did Preds Insiders last night with Max Hers, and he brought up something interesting. He was talking about the Predators' early season schedule. It is home heavy. Willie, there will be a point sometime soon where you'll be on the road for like 2.5 weeks, basically.
Yeah, there's a lot of travel in November, December, on into early January. That's the bulk of the road schedule. I'd say the tough part of the road schedule.
So 5 of their first 6 games are at home. They had the 1 road game in Detroit. They lost 3-0 over the weekend. But you look at the fact that the schedule is home heavy, and you look at the caliber of opponents they have been playing in these home games. They played Dallas, which by many accounts is the best team in the Western Conference.
And they're still undefeated.
Right. They're playing Edmonton, which has gotten off to a slow start, but we know how good the Oilers are. The Kraken missed the postseason last year, but as you described, Willie, at the end of the show the other day, a really solid team up and down. No superstars, but a solid team, a team that made the postseason once in its early history.
And spent a lot of money on a couple of players in the offseason.
Right. So they've got a rematch with the Red Wings on Saturday. Then they host the Bruins next Tuesday, another tough team. It just feels like you've got to bank some of these points at home. As you said, this schedule is going to get in early November. They are basically gone for the month of November. They have very few home games in the month of November. You need to bank these points now because if you go on the road and you're at a deficit, it's going to be harder to climb out of it.
I hear that, but at the same time, last year it was really on the road that they started to gel in November. And think about every year, Adam, you understand this, having done all the traveling you've done, that with the CMA traditional occupancy of this building, they have the big event. The Predators always go on a very long road trip at the beginning of November or very end of October, depending on when the actual show is. So they are used to doing this. I can think of seasons where it all came together. In fact, it was funny. A media member, well, I don't want to out him, said, I think this team just needs to go on the road and go out together and bond that way. And you will hear that when they go on the road. Hey, we're out on the road. We get to do team dinners. We get to hang out. We bond.
Does that media member's name rhyme with Pal Schill by chance?
You know what? That's a really good guess. It wasn't him, but it easily could have been him. I think if you look, it's a cliche that you hear all the time.
Yes.
And I think if you look, this is what did Barry Trotz say on Jared's show? He wants to be a more dominant team at home than they were last year. They were 14-15 at one point at home last year. Then when they got hot, they finished 9-1-2 at home, and it looked a lot more like the home ice advantage Smashville that it's supposed to look like. But in the meantime, they were one of the best road teams in the league last year. So it can go either way. I don't know that it's about home and road. I think it's just you need the reps. They've got to just keep ironing out who they are, the mistakes, the leakiness, in particular, the odd man rushes. I cringe thinking about if they have the odd man rush problem
Tonight?
that they've been having with the Oilers coming at them.
That'd
That
be
is
pretty.
not a recipe for success at all.
No,
I woke up a couple of times last night. Try side. Odd man rush, 2-on-1. I was like, oh. I was a little sweaty.
Willie waking up in a cold sweat. I had a nightmare that Leon Draisaitl had another 4-goal game against the Predators, which has happened. But no, look, we talked about the Colorado Avalanche with Elliot Freeman. They're the only other team in the league who have not earned at least 1 point in the standings. They are 0-4-0. The Predators have never started a season 0-4-0. So an opportunity to get back in the win column in a tough matchup against the Edmonton Oilers. Some familiar faces on the ice for the Oilers: Matthias Ekholm, Victor Arvidsson, a new member of the Edmonton Oilers, a top 6 forward for them. I like that signing in the offseason. I thought it could be a really good bargain, but Predators fans certainly will be happy to see them as long as they don't win. We talked about this. We talked about this during the summer. I remember we were talking about Matthias Ekholm potentially winning the Stanley Cup. And there were people who texted in and were like, the thought of him handing the cup to Corey Perry just makes me physically nauseous. So we shall see. But the Oilers and Predators tonight at Bridgestone Arena at 7 o'clock. 615-737-1025. We'll wrap up the show next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025-1063. The Game.
Football is back. Another week of football, and it starts tonight. And what better way to bet on big games than to do it on Zen Sports, the new sportsbook in Tennessee that's bringing sports betting to a whole new level. And I mean that literally. When you sign up for Zen Sports, you'll automatically earn up to $100. No danger first wager. If your first bet loses, you'll be reimbursed for the amount of your bet up to $100. And now that football season has started, Zen Sports has launched a revamped betting platform for both college football and the NFL. And what's better, with our new book or new look, Zen Sports will be offering daily promotions, including odd boosts, same game parlays, no danger wagers, and much more. Zen Sports also offers a one-of-a-kind VIP reward program. If you qualify, you earn monthly comps at sporting events, concerts, and even sport book bonuses. The VIP program is by invite only. So if you feel that your Zen Sports play qualifies for the VIP consideration, check out the program details and apply at ZenSports.com/VIP. So what are you waiting for? Football fans, start betting with Zen Sports, where you will receive true odds on all parlays and enhanced user experience for all. Get going and download their app at ZenSports.com today. That's Zen Sports, where betting just got better. And remember, gambling problems, call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 years or older to bet here in Tennessee.
D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025, 1063, The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingan here with you. Stillman and Company coming up next at 1025, 1063, The Game. Willie, you were not here for our first segment when we were discussing Will Levis's comments after practice, in which he said, the funny thing about this comment, as Derek pointed out, is that he wasn't asked a question about practice. It just was something he threw in at the end. And it was another example, according to Derek, of him shooting himself in the foot with something he said. We talked about it. You were riled up the other day when Will Levis mentioned after the game, oh, my shoulder may have contributed to the interception they threw at the end of the game. but we want to play this clip for you and get your thoughts. This was Will Levis after practice, apparently a bad practice yesterday.
Well, we talked to Callahan about the urgency. He said, it's always there, but there might be a different tone to it given the record and these next two tough road opponents. What's your take on the urgency going into a week like this?
Yeah, I think operationally, just in and out of the huddle too. That's something we saw on this past Sunday that wasn't up to our standard. And with all the stuff that we do, with all of the motions and everything, and different types of looks we're going to give to the defense, like we need to, get up and set on the line of scrimmage with more than 15 seconds to go. We can't be breaking the huddle, approaching the line with 6-7 seconds without even having to or being able to operate what we want to for the play. So it's working through this week of getting the substitutions game-like, making sure that we're getting in and out of the huddle with urgency. And I think that mindset in the huddle, in and out of the huddle, should take its course throughout everything else that we're doing in the building and how we approach it. So we didn't have the best day of practice today. We all knew that. We want to come out tomorrow and make sure that urgency and what we put out there on tape is more to our standards. So opportunity to do that tomorrow.
So that was Will Levis. He says, everybody knew that. We didn't have a good practice today. Everybody knew that. Well, we didn't know that because we can't watch practice, but thank you for offering it to us. Willie, your thoughts?
Yeah, that I didn't have too much of a problem with him talking about one specific thing. He probably went into more detail than a lot of people would about breaking the huddle because what he's saying is that's true. Like I feel like that is what they worked on and they want to emphasize that. So you're right, teammates. I heard what you heard. He offered something up that none of the media knew, and now the media can ride with, well, they didn't have a very good practice. It's a lack of savvy. It's a lack of, understanding. I think when you're the quarterback, you don't need it. It's media savvy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying really he should know better because he is a first-year starter from day one. But I think there's an awareness that I could write a number of different examples, and the one that I went off on Monday really bugged me more than this one. But it's in the same sort of category of it's just a lack of awareness. And when you don't have that awareness, I think we're also putting that alongside of a lack of awareness on the field when we see some decisions he makes, right? And you're putting it all together and you're saying, okay, there's just too much of a file of reasons why he's not cut out to be a good starting quarterback in the NFL. And he's going to get an opportunity that a lot of quarterbacks never get. It looks like he's going to get a long leash to try to work through this, which some don't get. But right now, it's hard for me to see. He's going to have to prove to me that he's going to be a different player than he's been so far. But it's just another example to me of that's just no. Like I'm sure some people are going, why did you have to tell him? Why did you tell them we had a bad practice? Nobody knew. It's not an open practice.
No.
Why would you say that? We're 1-4. Like if you're 4-1 and you say we had a bad practice, then everybody's going to say he's trying to keep him sharp. He's trying to keep him sharp. Okay, trying to keep him focused. I get that. When you're 1-4, you don't offer up that you had bad practice. That's an awareness, ring savvy.
Do y'all hear that, David? Do you hear that? Y'all hear that? Oh, that must be Will Levis. Yeah, Callahan's right. Yeah, that's Will Levis backing up the bus on Callahan once again. He did it with the whole arm thing, Willie, when he said my arm.
The same thing.
Yeah, and then you do it again.
Imagine Brian Callahan's thoughts when he says that. I don't think Brian Callahan said. I don't know. Did he say they had a bad practice? I don't know.
Maybe I don't.
But with the arm,
say it.
With the arm thing, that was my thing. Like Brian, Will, I backed you. I said you made all the throws. I was watching you. You didn't tell me you couldn't make the throws, and now you're going to use that. That makes me look bad. That is the awareness that I'm talking about.
Will has no awareness right now. I don't think he will ever gain any awareness. He should know by now. He's 25 years old. He's been a leader of a huge program there at UK. He came from Penn State. He's been in the media as far as having to answer questions and talk about his team. He's not new to this. He is not new to this. If you don't have nothing to say good, then Will Levis, damn it, don't say anything at all. We didn't ask you whether you had a good practice or not. We didn't ask whether the team had a good practice or not. She was asking something totally different, and you offered up that information. Please, Will Levis, please stop talking.
And that will do it for us. We'll stop talking for now. Jared Stillman will start talking at 2 o'clock. That will do it for us. We'll be back at 11 a.m. tomorrow, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Be loving your people. Have a wonderful and blessed Thursday. Let's go, Preds. Get your first win. Peace.